Folks are pouring in. Excellent. We're going to get live on the Facebook feed as well. So welcome everyone. Those of you who are already pouring into the room, hello and welcome. Glad you're here. We're just going to let folks pour in for a little bit, and we're going to make sure we're live on Facebook and that everything is smooth sailing before we fully get started here.
We are live on Facebook.
Great. Thank you, Zach. Very good. And we are live on Zoom. And I see some folks are already raising their hands. It's very proactive of you. We've got people starting to join the chat. So this is great. Welcome, everyone. Really glad to have you here today and glad to be back with you for another Tea with Lee. It's going to be a fun hour and a half or so. And those of you who are on Zoom, please jump down into the chat. Make sure to change the blue drop down to say all panelists and attendees right above the message box, and then let us know where you're tuning in from so that everybody can see your messages and you all can interact with one another. That'd be great. And those of you on Facebook, welcome. Glad you're here too. I hope you enjoy being here. If you want to come over to Zoom and chat in the chat room and so forth, you're certainly welcome to. But otherwise, if you have any questions and you want to stay on Facebook, that's great. And just put your questions in the comments and we'll have somebody pull those in and ask Lee several questions from Facebook later on. Okay, folks are pouring in from Denmark and Canada and the UK and St. Louis, Missouri, Southern California. Sunny Seattle is not sunny here today. Burlington, Ontario, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Argentina, Hungary, Romania, Bonnie-Dunia, Spain, Woodstock, New York, Luxembourg. A lot of Europeans joining us this time of day. Always good to see y'all. I'm glad you're here. We are about to get started in just a couple of minutes with and get some tea going. So those of you who are here to drink some tea, we'll be getting that started in just a minute. I think my water's hot. How about you, Mr. Holden? Are you ready for some tea?
I am ready for some tea. Fantastic. I love where people are coming in from.
It's fun, huh?
From Slovenia to Bonnie Doon.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Always excited
Mexico.
about
It's fantastic. I'm in a new spot.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I have nice high ceilings in here. I think I'm a little echoey.
Yeah.
You might hear me 2 or 3 times. Will probably be good for our meditation.
You sound echoey, and also there's some weird undertone. Did your microphone fall in the water?
No, I don't think it did, but do I really? I mean, you know, Qigong is the water element, so maybe I'm extra Qigong.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like you're like you have a gravelly voice, but you don't.
Yeah, huh. Okay, well, we'll have to work on that because this is the first day in my new house. So, you know, finding the right spots to have tea has been the adventure this morning.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's see. What are you drinking today? You got some tea going?
I'm drinking a blend. So when you move, often your tea cabinet, you just grab everything, put it in a Ziploc bag. So I took that Ziploc bag of all the different kinds of tea and just did a mashup into a pot, and it's actually delicious. And then this teacup I just found I found it when I was at an antique store in Pacific Grove.
I think I remember that teacup. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Very nice. Do you have a, let's take just a moment because I think we can probably fix the issue. I think it's Zoom trying to beat the echo. So open up your audio preferences.
Okay, in Zoom?
Yep. And then there's going to be settings, and it's going to have a little microphone bouncing back and forth. And then over to advanced.
Okay, I'm in there.
And then click on the show in meeting option to enable original sound from microphone.
Okay.
Maybe the top checkbox in there.
I'm in test speakers, audio level, audio volume, test mic.
Go to advanced, down in the bottom right,
Got it.
and then that top checkbox.
Okay.
Okay, and now it should bring you a new button. Go ahead and hit that button that says "Turn on original sound."
It didn't bring me in. It did not bring in new. I click it and nothing happens. Nothing new.
Oh, sorry. Leave it checked. Quit out of preferences, and then back on the main screen.
Okay. Okay. Turn. Okay. Got it. How's that?
Nope. That just brings me. All right, turn it off. It was worth a shot. Sorry, everybody. Thanks for bearing with us. It's our first day in the new setup, and we'll just have to figure it out. So, meanwhile, I'm drinking this tocha of 9016 in Xiaopuer. It's I've already taken some chunks out of this thing, but otherwise it's kind of a little bowl or nest shape. So I'm going to be chipping away at it into this tiny little teapot with some horses and some Chinese characters on it. I don't know if I've shown this off before.
Well, that's cool.
All right, cool. I always love a little teapot with some horses on it. This is actually part of a set. This is the medium size. Can you believe that? It's not even the small one.
Wow, how fun.
Yeah, it's part of a set, and they all have different animals on them. So there you have it. It is fun. And
some of the coolest teaware.
My little cup today. So looking forward to it. People can't see me. Oh yeah. Sorry, everybody. Let's talk about that problem about how you can't see me because I left it on Lee. Anyway, here's my little teapot with the horse. Little tiny teapot. Little horse and some, I have no idea what this Chinese character covered scroll says. Kind of wish I knew. One day I will. Anyway, as I was saying, this is the medium size. It's not even the small one from this set of 3 little teapots that I've had for ages. I've had these since before teapots were expensive. Back when they were cheap, because nobody in the U.S. valued them. So I'm going to
get pu'er tea was really cheap and not so long ago, and then it got popular and now it's expensive, but it's worth it.
It kind of went through that kind of like gold rush or Dutch tulip phase in the 90s. Hey.
Hi.
How do you like your new house?
Very good.
Very good.
They just got out of the sisters just got out of the bathtub.
Awesome.
They're exploring all the different things in the house. So we also have this guy here who thinks he owns the place.
Of course
he does. So we're trying out all the new stuff.
Yep. Phase 1.
Come say hi, everybody.
Everybody.
Fun. Them taking a bath this morning is twin steeping in the tub. It's a little bit like tea.
Yeah.
There's Kyla.
She just slipped away right in the nick of time.
Charlie's already just destroyed the white couches. So the place came with white couches. So he has, in one day, they're destroyed before I could even cover them. So they're covered with fur, but now the place looks well lived in.
Right out of the gate. Yep, that seems like a dog thing to do. You're like, oh, what's this? Can I make it not white? Oh, good. Well, let's settle in and get started. I know folks are always excited to get their questions answered, so let me let folks know how to do that. In Zoom, there's a Q&A button, and if you use that, then we will go through as many of those as we have time for today. If you are on Facebook, then feel free to put it in the comments underneath the Facebook Live, and somebody will pull those over today. And if you're here in Zoom, don't put them in the chat because we won't find them there. Zach's going to be busy pulling them over from Facebook and keeping track of things. So please do use the Q&A button in the Zoom meeting. And we'll let those start to stream in, and then later we will ask folks to raise their hand if they want to come on camera and talk with Lee and get their questions answered that way. And in the meantime, Lee, what are you thinking about these days? What's going on with you, and what do you want to do to kind of kick things off here?
That's a great question. You know, what just came to mind is new beginnings and marking a moment. How do we mark a moment? Because every moment has that possibility of a new beginning. And especially like moving in, before we even walked in the front door, I had the kids and whoever was there, we just said, hey, let's mark this moment. Let's create a new beginning. And usually what does that is ritual. And drinking tea can be a ritual every morning that marks a moment, that creates a new beginning. And I think that's a great thing to do. So like, how do we step into a moment? How do we create moments each and every day that elevate us, that help us feel reconnected? You know, whether it's tea, moving, being out in nature, doing your Qi Gong practice, we can create that moment. You know, we're crafting our moments each and every day. And what are the moments that you want to cultivate and craft for yourself today? And how do we ask ourselves that very important question? Sometimes our questions are so very important because they're a guiding light towards the answer, and life delivers you the answer. So if we ask ourselves, what wonderful things are going to happen to me today? It's a very different inquiry than, oh my God, you know, already knowing and expecting the worst, or thinking in your mind that you already know what's going to happen in your day and setting yourself up for a low vibration day. So asking a good question and putting ourselves in the right space to define and craft and design our moments. And then we can design moments of elevation, because there's going to be moments where we have to get stuff done, where we have to do our responsibilities, you know, like moving. I was thinking about this because it's very exciting to move. And I consciously created a few moments with the whole family, and then unpacking boxes and moving stuff around. Can be exciting, but it also can be hard work. And so days can be like that. So crafting a few moments each and every day where you feel like, wonderful. And so I love doing that with my tea practice every morning. So as we drop in the moment, think about what is the question, the inquiry for you today, and how are you going to create a moment of elevation, of energy, of reconnection, a moment of replenishment, or a moment that you want to craft for yourself. And let's drop into this moment together and drop in by feeling into the space where we are and recognizing that our bodies are always in the present moment. So if we feel, for example, the chair, the couch, or the floor underneath you, noticing your breath come in, out through your nose, that's how we drop into the moment. And then from the moment, it's like a new beginning, a new starting place. What wonderful things do I want to create today? What exciting things are going to happen to me today? Or any inquiry that might be in your mind. Just think of it for a brief moment. Take a deep breath into that. And we seal it with a sip of tea, bringing us back into the moment. So cheers to creating beautiful moments in your day, in your days, and in your life. Cheers.
Cheers. I gotta slurp the tea. Everybody knows, right? Maybe
that'll
not.
bring you into the moment.
It's such a beautiful thing, and the way that much of the way that we can get into the moment with the tea is this stuff, like these tea wares and things like that. They serve as a reminder, and when you settle into a tea session and you have all the different elements there, and you've got all of the you sort of create an atmosphere, and then consciously sit and just focus on pouring the tea and breaking it up and getting it in the teapot and getting the water over it and interacting with the tea and the teaware, then it really can train your mind that when you do that, you kind of come present in the moment.
Yeah.
And even if you're doing other things, even if you're active while you're drinking tea and going on about your life, it still has that thing. It still has that association in your nervous system to bring you into the present moment and kind of bring you here now. And that's one of the things I absolutely love about it. It's such a powerful aspect of living a life with tea.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Super.
I think in our modern life, we don't have enough daily rituals that bring us into moments, and rituals can be very grounding. And, and if it's not a ritual, rituals can be very simple. I mean, we do have rituals, our breakfast ritual, or waking up ritual, or going to bed rituals, but are those rituals supporting your best life, your best self? If your tea ritual or even your coffee ritual, what is it in your mind that intention in your mind that the ritual can support bringing it into fruition? And so I think that's fun to play with, because Qigong is a ritual. Qigong, your practice can be a ritual of the inquiry here is, how do I elevate my energy, activate my healing power within, and line up to the energy that I want to craft and create in my day? Or the ritual of a Qigong, maybe evening practice, how do I let go of any of the stress I picked up, come back to this moment of the evening, bring that yin energy up, which is the energy of calmness and inner peace, so that gets me ready for a good night's sleep, replenishing my energy so that I can charge into the day with inspiration and excitement. And so that's a really good way that we can use rituals very simply to line up to those inquiries that guide and direct us, and have life answer those inquiries at that highest possible vibration.
Yeah, that works beautifully. Well, this is such a beautiful circumstance here that we find ourselves in, where we're able to share our tea ritual and our tea drinking time and our relationship with tea and each other with all of you. And there's people here from all over the world. I think Zach may have asked previously, and a few folks have answered, what kind of tea are you drinking today? So if you're in the chat, make sure it says all panelists and attendees. And if you haven't already told us, please jump in and let us know what kind of tea you're drinking today, because we always love to reach out and connect with the world. We got some oolong drinkers. I got a Moroccan mint drinker. Got somebody who's chugging chaga. Mushroom tea. Got turmeric ginger cedar. Turmeric ginger cedar.
That's unusual, huh?
Somebody drinking some pu'er. Somebody else drinking some pu'er. A lot of pu'er. Somebody likes it smoky. Lapsang souchong. You know that tea? That's a Chinese black tea that's pine smoked.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they discovered it because they would take these black teas and take them over the mountains to Russia, and it would take a year. And every night they'd circle the wagons and make a big fire. And so by the time it got to Russia, it was infused with this pine smoke flavor, and apparently the Russian Tsar absolutely loved it. So that's it's become a way now. They'll intentionally pine smoke these teas.
Wow, how cool. I didn't know that. That's a great story.
Cool story. So we are getting marshmallow and raspberry leaf tea. There you go.
Wow, people are getting creative today.
I know, it's great. Somebody says, you two introduced me to pu'er, and it's now part of my daily ritual. Well, that's sweet, Patricia. I'm glad. Well, I think since we've got some questions starting to roll in, we are going to go ahead and start taking some. What do you think, Mr. Holden? You ready?
Let's do it. I'm in the Q&A looking to get some interesting questions here.
Already. Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. So yeah, if you missed it earlier, please do use the Q&A button in Zoom to ask your questions. We'll be going through as many of the ones we can find in there as possible. And if you're over on Ovaltine and Mini Marshmallows, says Sky. I guess
nice. Classic.
Yeah, it is evening, I think, for a lot of people. If you're over on Facebook, just put your questions in the comments, and a little later, Zach will bring a few of them over, and we'll see how many we can get through in the time we have allotted. So, Mr. Holden, you want to pick a few out of Q&A and get going?
Yeah, it sounds good. Here's a fun one. This is somebody, the babysits their grandchildren, and each week that they go babysit, the weather's nice. I like to ride my bicycle over there. It's 21 miles each way, and after a while, I notice I feel stiff in and my hands start to get numb. Is there bicycle Qigong? So me as an avid mountain biker, there is some good bicycle Qigong, because, you know, Qigong, biking is a great practice because it's not so hard on your body. Well, sometimes if you're riding, you know, in the bars, and it can be hard on the body, and it has been hard on my body anytime I've fallen off my bike. I seem to fall off about once every 10 years, and, you know, like, oh, I need to practice my iron shirt Qigong. Because I'm usually in the mountains, and you know, those rocks are a little unforgiving. But okay, so in the bars, what happens when you're on your bike? You can put too much pressure on your hands. In the same way, when we're typing on the computer over time, or doing any, you know, people that practice yoga, sometimes in those downward dog kind of positions can get some irritation in the arms. So when you're on your bike, what I like to do is see how little pressure you actually need in your handlebars, especially on a longer ride. So back off the hands and control the bike a little more with your legs. And then when you finish, and even before, you want to activate some energy. So I would say some of the wrist Qigong, tapping on the wrists, some wrist circles, knowing that this might be an issue when you're working on your bike, some shaking. And then when you finish the ride, doing some neck stretches, doing all the stretches in the neck and opening up the energy through the arms. We do have that Qigong for arms, wrists, and hands. And that might be a good one for you to just practice right after you ride, or occasionally through the week. Very nice. And somebody here, another athlete, talking about how would you work with muscle cramping along a meridian line, for instance, inner thigh, liver meridian. As a lifetime athlete and dancer, never had muscle cramping before. So along a meridian line, we can get irritations, problems, injuries, and it shows up along that meridian. The liver meridian is interesting because we can look at the elements of the liver meridian and the 5 elements. So sometimes when it's along a meridian, I ask myself, what's going on with this meridian? Okay, I go through some of the associations. Liver has to do with stress, frustration, anger, agitation, overthinking. And so you might say, oh, are any of those things coming up? The liver also controls the nervous system. And so that's why stress and the liver is related. Or the liver controls tendons, muscles, ligaments. And so are we doing some new kinds of exercise? Any of those? So maybe yes, maybe no. And if it's just along the meridian, then we can think, I wonder what's going on internally in my system. So whenever something's showing up in a meridian line, we become a detective. I wonder what's going on. Maybe this. Oh yeah, I did have that 2 or 3 stressful things happen last week, and then a few days later, this showed up. Often that can be the case. So what's the solution? Well, work with the liver meridian, liver energy. So I would say liver healing sounds can be great. Liver flows, like the tree sways in the wind, wonderful flows. So you can always go to your, a staple to have in your healing energetic tool chest would be healing sounds program and the 5 element energy flow. Because then you could always work with those as preventative medicine, or I would recommend doing the liver exercise a little bit more for you. And then you could just stretch that liver meridian. That would be like a wide leg stretch where we're working the energy into those lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such an interesting, thing. Having the 5 elements practices in your arsenal is super powerful for stuff like this. When things like this come up and you notice that they're on meridian lines, you start to understand what those lines are. And for a lot of us, if we don't have that background, but if we have, if we go to an acupuncturist or something like that, and we say where things are going on, they'll often help identify what those meridian lines are. So if you do go to an acupuncturist and you ask, like, okay, what meridian is this on, or what's going on here, that can help you figure out which exercises to do when you come back to your Qigong practice.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Here's another one. So funny thing that happens. I mean, aren't these bodies funny? Funny things happen to them. Just stuff happens. Like, what the heck is that? Why is that going on?
Uh-huh.
It just shows up when funny things happen in your body. It shows up as somewhere in our past history, there was some energy shift, and then it's going to manifest a little later. So be your own best detective, where you go like, what was going on in my life? Was it dietary? You know, is it some new transition? Is it some stressful event? You know, just these little things that happen to us can show up a little while later, sometimes a lot later. And then it becomes a funny little thing that happens. Then what do we do when those funny things happen? We want to clear and work on our energy systems. So this person says, my middle toe goes numb and sometimes tingle when standing while doing Qigong. It goes away when I shake them out. A bit annoying, especially when I'm trying to get into the zone. So that can happen. So we do hold a lot of tension in our feet. Our feet, because we wear shoes all the time and they're often tight, and we sit a long time, our low back's tight, we don't get a lot of great circulation in our feet. So walking barefoot can help. And funny enough, walking barefoot on like pebbles that aren't too sharp is great reflexology. Walking barefoot on the beach or in the woods just to get your feet grounded and strong. And those the little different pressures like sand, when you have to walk in sand, will make your feet stronger. So those are some good, you know, lifestyle tips to do. Then when you're doing Qigong, if you feel like your toes are going numb, just really just shake out your feet, come up onto your toes and off the toes, up onto the toes and off the toes. And, you know, at some other time when you're not doing Qigong, I would suggest lying on your back, leg up in the air with your fingers interlocked behind your knee or your hamstring, and just making foot circles and stretch out the Achilles tendon and get more circulation into your feet. But that's a common theme when we're doing Qigong, because we're not used to it. So your feet muscles are getting stronger, your lower back and legs are getting stronger, really establishing the roots of your body. So do those couple things, it'll go away. Then you could also shift your weight into your heels while you're doing Qigong practice. Maintain that weight in the heels and just relax there. And that'll keep your feet nice and light.
Great.
Okay. Do the standing postures in Buddha palm help to strengthen the bones? You know, absolutely they do. Buddha palm isn't necessarily designed to strengthen the bones, but that would be a side effect, because weight-bearing standing postures are going to be really wonderful for the bones. Okay, previous teacher often used reversed abdominal breathing. Curious is the question. Reverse abdominal breathing is when you inhale. We often inhale and let the abdomen come out, and exhale, abdomen back. Now reverse, you reverse it. The abdomen comes in as you inhale, back towards the spine. It is a great exercise. I tend to think that most Westerners just have a challenging time getting diaphragmatic breathing, like getting the diaphragm to come down. So to do reverse breathing, there are some interesting benefits of massaging the internal organs, but I think the main benefit of breath work is long, slow, deep breathing, and you really just can't beat it for a daily sustained practice. And then to do some of these little more, I would say, fun or funky practices like reverse breathing can be very powerful, and working with the energy of the internal organs can be wonderful. But I think on a daily basis, just straight deep abdominal breathing, chi belt breathing, and kidney breathing are, just in my opinion, more powerful on that daily basis. And it works better for me. So when something works for you as a teacher, you tend to stick with it. I do like reverse breathing. It just isn't necessarily my go-to breath practice. Somebody else, I'm going to teach Qigong with elementary kids. Fantastic. Suggestions, make it fun. Bring in animal movements. And I go and teach Qigong, and when I could, back in the kids' classrooms. And, you know, you really, with elementary kids, first graders, they have so much energy, and they can't sit still. So if you make it fun, like what I do is I ask the kids what their favorite animals are. Inevitably, I get tiger, horse, dog, and then I do those Qigong movements that are related to that. And then I go, hey, you know what? Sloths move very slow. Who can move like a sloth? Who can move like a giant panda? Who can go the slowest? And they all start moving really slow. So as long as you make it fun, don't teach kids like you would adults. Make it a little more lively, fun, interactive, and gamify. Gamify it, like even just who can go the slowest works really well. 15, 20 minutes, they've gotten the wiggles and squiggles out, and they're in a really good place to learn and relax.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the other day you also mentioned not doing any one exercise for too long. You got to move on quick, right? Like, because they're, match the amount of time you spend kind of dropping into their attention span, and keep it current and keep it fresh, because otherwise you'll notice their attention wandering for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. They have sometimes, especially the kindergartners and first graders, they really have the attention span of a flea. Here, there, mirror. But even if they're goofing off during class, they tend to get that out of their system. So then when the teachers all told me, boy, every time you do Qigong, afterwards, they're like present. They're like, I'm ready to learn, in a space ready to learn. And it's a little bit ridiculous, our school systems. We take these totally energized little beings and we tell them to sit still and pay attention. And that is a really challenging thing to do. So we have to discipline them. What kids need is movement, frequent movement, to get their energy circulating. Then once they've moved, they can relax and be in a learning space. But they can really only pay attention for 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time. And otherwise, they're going to be daydreaming and wandering. Their imaginations are so much more heightened than adults. That's why they have imaginary friends, and they can go play in a cardboard box with imaginary games, because they're really in a different brainwave set than adults. So our system to sit down, study, learn, regurgitate information isn't the best or optimal way for learning to happen. And in fact, Qigong movements for kids can be extremely profound and powerful for a learning space. Mm-hmm. So it is one of the things in my heart and mind, is to make some programs for kids. Mm-hmm. So every time I answer a question, I'm like, got to do that Qi Kids thing.
Yeah. One of these days.
Yep. We got to do it while my kids are still little, because they're getting big now.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. Wondering if you could speak a little about the gift of having adversarial relationship. Mine feels very comfortable. Wonder if you could speak a little about the gift of having an adversarial relationship. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like, is it a romantic relationship? Is it adversarial relationship to, family, friends?
I think she's talking about having a nemesis. You got to have a nemesis.
Yeah, you got to have a nemesis. That's in all movies. You have a nemesis. A movie without a nemesis is boring.
Yeah.
I think you just like saying that word nemesis, huh?
I'm going to say it again. How about a nemesis? Let's have I'm apparently your nemesis at this moment, because you're trying to get a point out and I just keep saying nemesis.
I'm going to create a Qigong movement called repulsing the nemesis. Okay, that's my homework today.
I love it. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm going to assume that she's talking about a romantic relationship having some degree of challenge instead of it really comfortable. That's my assumption.
Well, let's talk about adversary in general. So, adversarial circumstances, relationships, they can help us push past boundaries and barriers. They can strengthen our sense of self. So it comes back to, there's good stress and then there's bad stress. Mm-hmm. So if we talk about exercise, if you put weights and you lift weights, you can get stronger. Your muscles get challenged. You stress your muscles and then they grow. But if we put too much weight on, we can injure ourselves. Now, emotional adversarial circumstances are very similar. We can get too stressed out and really damage and injure ourselves with chronic stress. And chronic relationship stress can be so challenging and so detrimental to our health and happiness. And so I think we have to really find that right amount of balance and understand who we are as people. Because if we come back to the 5 elements, if you're a wood element, you love challenge, like having a challenging conversation or even an argument where you back and forth. It's like, God, that was fun. And especially if you come to a meeting of the minds or something like that. So we challenge ourselves. What it does is it expands your perspective. When somebody challenges your perspective, gives you a different point of view, there's a little bit of a back and forth, and then you come to a meeting of the minds, or you come to an aha, or like, wow, that was cool. It's like a good sporting event. You know, like we love playing games. So we have a good game and we want it to be close. We want the competition to be close. If somebody's way better than you, for example, if somebody's way smarter in a particular topic and you're having an argument, it's not as fun as if you have that adversarial where it's real close and you can go back and forth and it's challenging and you rise to the occasion and you get stronger from that. So that's the thing about adversaries. Martial arts, for example, the same. You know, martial arts competitions and practices, you want to challenge yourself, but you don't want somebody to punch you in the face and hurt you and knock you out in 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. So that's the same thing. And now in life, in our modern life, we are more in martial relationship conflict than anything else. So we need emotional kung fu more than anything, because we're in fight or flight, but we're not fighting, nor are we fleeing. And we're just internalizing all this stress and creating a detrimental effect in our body. So this is a big, big question. And I think we want to learn some practices that help us to, number one, make sure that our energy level's high, so that when we are in an adversarial situation, if we have enough energy, it's going to strengthen. That's like being in good shape when you go exercise. If you're injured and you try to go exercise, it's going to re-injure. So if you're emotionally depleted and you start interacting in challenging conversations, that's when emotional injuries happen. And then when you also, you want to create that good stress, that stress that's just a little bit above your ability, and that's how you get stronger. And we want to use that adversarial circumstance, whether it's a relationship, exercise, a circumstance, in a really good way. You can do this in other aspects of your life by, for example, at the end of your shower, turn it on cold for 30 seconds. That's a small adversary, and breathe slow and deep while the cold is on your body. That's challenging. And then you're like, now when life is challenging, I'm going to breathe slow and deep. So adding a little bit of conscious stress to your life consciously can make you stronger. And so we do that in Qigong practice. We'll stand in a posture and we'll do slow, deep breathing while we're in a challenging posture. I'm training myself that when life gets stressful, I'm going to stay calm, centered, and relaxed. So that's my little 2 cents on adversarial things.
I love it. Especially the shower trick. You know, I started using that years ago and do it every day when I take a shower. And now I go swimming in cold ocean and it doesn't really bother me as much as it probably would most people. It's like,
yeah, exactly. You've gotten stronger.
Yeah, and it's, what I love about it is like the range of comfort zone is much broader, right? So it's like, yeah, it's cold. You know, I'll be out there, everybody else is in a wetsuit and they're like, aren't you cold? And I'm like, yeah, I just don't mind being cold as much. So that's, I think it's similar with relationship stuff. It's like, as you get good at managing your reaction, then you don't mind having that confrontational conversation or having to deal with the, otherwise negative and scary inputs that used to shut you down.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's great. And, the science is there too. When you do a cold plunge, it is great for vascular circulation. It is great for some immune function, things like that. So when you challenge yourself, slowly, you get stronger. And like you said, the relationships are the same way. We can drop into you can have a difficult conversation without it throwing your whole day off or getting you off center. And that's important because we're in challenging circumstances and we're having all kinds of difficult conversations.
Yep, indeed.
And I think this one had a difficult conversation because her twin sisters are always the nicest to you, huh? But you handle it really well. And then you can always come here and be with all of us when you need some friends.
Right.
Okay, good. I heard a challenging conversation in the background. So,
Mostly in
and
the back.
you know what's challenging? Parenting. You know, all of that is so challenging. If you can stay in a difficult conversation in your center, the outcome is 1,000 times better than when you get triggered, irritated, agitated, because then all of a sudden you're contributing to the agitation as opposing to be this calm, stable force. And it really works like magic, staying centered and balanced in difficult conversations. I think that is just so fascinating to me. So I feel like I've become this emotional ninja with 3 little girls.
Not bad.
That's been really good practice. Qigong in life.
Qigong in life, exactly. Got to take
All
it.
right. So a Buddha palm question. Somebody noticing when it's cold in the room, should they put on a sweater because they don't feel their chi in their hands as much? Yeah, exactly. If it's cold, if you put a sweater on, keep your body warm, you're going to feel chi more. But in lieu of our conversation, it is okay to do qigong when it's cold, with the caveat of don't do qigong in the wind and cold. The wind tends to be very challenging it kind of blows our chi away. So if you wanted, you could challenge yourself when it's cold in a room and still feel benefit. You won't feel as much chi in your body because the chi is going to go into your organs and away from your extremities. So warm yourself up. If it is cold and you don't put on a sweater, do more warm-ups. Do 3 minutes of the turtle and some swimming dragon. That'll warm you up. Or put on a sweater and do your practice there. That's totally fine as well.
Mm-hmm.
What would be a comprehensive fitness routine? Can Qigong help strengthen muscles as well? Can Qigong give us some cardio to be wholesome, to a wholesome fitness routine? Or should we add weight training as well? I just can't find the time for all of it, and I don't want to skip Qigong. So that is a great point. So if you can find the time, it is good to add other exercises. That's wonderful. What I find is Qigong helps to keep you injury-free. So if you love swimming, dancing, running, beach volleyball, biking, when you do your Qigong practice, you stay fit, healthy, flexible so that you can do those things that you love more frequently. That said, if you just have your exercise routine, Qigong can give you all the benefits of a cardio workout. Not like you're going for a 10-mile run, but more like you're going for a 4 or 5 mile walk. And the research shows that running or walking is equivalent in terms of benefits. Sometimes walking looks like gives you more benefit because it's easier on your joints. So, and it's going to give you strength conditioning, not like going to the gym and lifting weights. You're not going to necessarily get ripped muscles doing Qigong, but you're going to get strong, fit. You're going to develop your muscles, your tendons, and your bones. So it's a full fitness workout. It's mind, body fitness. So it's really the anti-aging workout. So yes, Qigong will give you all of that. We don't always have time to go to the gym, a yoga class, and do a mindfulness meditation. So what you get with Qigong is all of that, plus energetic awareness and cultivation, plus dropping into flow state. So you get a workout, a stretch, Qi activation, and flow state awareness all in one 20 to 30 minute routine or an hour routine. So that takes care of a lot of your basic cardiovascular fitness, strength, and conditioning needs. Now, if you want to do more, depending on your goals, it also gives you that strong foundation to heal your body, to be in a good place to go exercise, and to do the things that you love doing, hiking, walking on the beach, longer and longer and later in life.
Excellent.
All right, suggestions for calming my sympathetic nervous response as I wake up in the morning, heart pounding. I have seniors workshop, sounds healing, and Buddha Palm, as well as subscription. Wonderful. That is a great question. Sometimes, in fact, quite frequently, I want people to notice, what is your stress levels as you wake up in the morning? Sometimes if we think of a stress scale from 0 to 10, sometimes we're waking up in the morning at a 5, 6, and 8. All the things that we have to do, all the worries in the world are on our minds as soon as we wake up. So how do we clear stress? Now, before you get out of bed, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do something called desensitizing stress. I want you to first notice that number. Oh gosh, I woke up, I'm at a 6. Okay, I'm gonna desensitize some of the stress. I notice the weight of the world is already on my mind. I'm gonna do something called blending with the contraction, because stress creates a contraction in your body. So I want you to emphasize it. I want you to take a deep breath. We can all do it together. You're gonna hold your breath and squeeze all your muscles. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze all the muscles. Even squeeze your jaw. Exhale. Blow the breath out through the mouth. You're gonna do that 6 times or so until you get the stress level to go from a 6 to a 3. If you're at a 9, you're gonna go from a 9. Hopefully you wanna go down to below 5. But if you get from a 9 to a 5, wonderful, now you're resourced. Then after you do 6 or so of those contractions, hold the breath 20, 30 seconds, relax. You're gonna go to wave breathing while you're still in bed. And that's about a 5-second inhale and a 5-second exhale, and do that for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, and then get out of bed and start your day. And that works like magic. Then go do a Qigong routine, start your day with a ritualized cup of tea with the intention like we did earlier, and you'll feel that melting away of stress and realigning to what you want to create for your day.
I love that idea. That's great. Especially the wave breathing afterward. It's sort of like, it's such a calming thing in and of itself. But if you kind of like consciously turn the dial down and then do the wave breathing, time for tea after that.
It's kind of like it's like yin and yang, right? So we recognize that we're in stress, and so what we do is we add a little more stress. It kind of comes back to that question about the adversary, right? So stress, your body's thinking life is your adversary. There's all kinds of adversarial things going on. So you're going to stay in a heightened alert state. So that squeezing the muscles helps to remind, oh man, I'm holding a lot of tension. Then when you relax, it just lowers the stress in your body. And then the slow deep breathing resets you. So you're really playing with yin and yang energy in a very skillful way to reset your nervous system. Then you wake up, you go have your ritualized cup of tea, you do a full Qigong practice, you're gonna be golden. That's the golden way of starting the day.
I love that. And, you know, when you say that, it's sort of like you add a little more stress and then you can release it more fully. It's sort of, the image in my head is of like, like a boat winch. And it's got the teeth and it's like,
yeah, right.
And it's like, to release the latch and let it go, you can't do it unless you put a little bit of pressure on it, and then you can release the latch. It's like you have to turn up the pressure a little bit in order to then release it.
Fantastic metaphor. That is exactly right. And it's important to understand how our nervous system works. And what happens is we stay in chronic low-grade stress, and that's where it's detrimental. Chronic low-grade stress, hour after hour. So that's why we want to clear it out in the morning right away. So that contraction, that slow breathing, that Qigong practice, have some tea, and then it's like I'm lined up. I'm feeling calm, centered, and relaxed. And maybe as you go through the day, you might gather more stress, but when you do it the next morning, you clear it out so it doesn't stack on top of it. Stress has a tendency to stack up. So short-term stress, that's what your sympathetic nervous system is designed for. Short blasts of sympathetic stress is good. So that's contract, release. 30-second cold plunge. Oh, that's cold, turn it off. Oh, I feel good. So those short blasts of stress wake up the nervous system, get us in our sympathetic branch, and then we easily, more effortlessly go back to that parasympathetic where we're in rest and relax. And that's where healing happens. And so that's a skillful way of doing it. I love that boat wench metaphor, Ben. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cool.
Valerie, is there an easy rule for inhale, exhale during movement, such as limbs away towards the body? Also, do you exhale through nose or mouth? All right, so exhaling through the mouth is going to be clearing, purging. You're going to let go of the energy you don't want. Like that previous exercise, squeeze all the muscles, and you exhale through the mouth because I don't want that stress in my body. I'm going to exhale through the mouth. So we're going to exhale through the mouth usually early in class when we're stretching or when we're purging. So when we're tonifying and when we're meditating, we're going to inhale, exhale through the nose. And throughout the day, just normal daily activity, if you can inhale, exhale through the nose, most of the time, that's what you want to do. Now, when you're moving, when you're going like this and pushing away, that's your exhale usually. And when you're coming in, that's your inhale. When you lift the arms up, that's usually the inhale. And when the arms go down, that's the exhale. So that's the rule of thumb, but it's not always the case. Sometimes the movement is a circle. And so if you don't know when to breathe or how the breathing is, just breathe natural, slow, and deep. And that is fine too. Usually they synchronize breath and movement as a way to keep you engaged in your breath. So if you're doing it opposite, you still get all the wonderful benefits because deep breathing, slow movement in and of itself is where the magic happens.
Awesome.
How can I balance my estrogen testosterone post-menopause? I feel low testosterone. So that's a good question. So menopause in Chinese medicine is called yin deficiency. So what are the symptoms? Hot flashes. You have yin and yang energy. Health is where, and homeostasis is where yin and yang are balanced. Now, when yang goes up, that's too much heat. Yang can go up, sore throat, fever. Or some people just have excess yang. That's the person that goes out in cold weather in shorts and a t-shirt. Now, yin, too much yin can look like weight gain, sluggish metabolism, things like that. Yin-yang balance, we feel good. Now, if yin goes down, that's called yin deficiency. What does that look like? It looks like too much heat, but it's not. So that's why you have hot flashes. You're not hot all the time. You get a hot flash. What else happens? Emotional, sleep issues, become yin and yang aren't balanced. So what we want to do is raise that yin energy up or cool that yang energy down. What helps to raise yin energy? Slow flowing movements. What helps to bring yang energy down? Healing sounds. Healing sounds clear heat. So you do some healing sounds, you do slow flowing movements. Oh, now we're starting to balance things out. So with menopause, do your flows more during the day. Spend more time in flows. At nighttime, do healing sounds to clear the heat. And over some time, it does take, a few weeks of consistent practice, people get wonderful results. You can also take some herbs. There's some great herbal supplements, and acupuncture helps. You might want to consult an herbalist just to get some really good herbal formulas. For example, there's one that tonifies the kidney yin. It's called, I'm going to say it in Chinese, Lu Wei Di Huang Huan. It's called 6 Flavors. And that's a great, just basic kidney yin tonifying herbal formula. But consult an herbalist to get the right formula for you. Things like black cohosh and a lot of omega-3s can be helpful. Limiting alcohol and sugar can be helpful. But do that, healing sounds and flows, and that usually takes care of it.
Great.
All right. In yogic traditions, we aim at lowering Bmr and respiration. In normal fitness routines, we say we must increase heart rate and Bmr. What's the healthy way to go about it? Okay, so again, it's like that stress and relaxation. So if you're jogging or exercising and lifting weights, we stress the system a little bit. And then what we want to come back to is a low BMR and a low respiratory and a lower heart rate, resting heart rate. And athletes have a low resting heart rate because they stress the system, then they can relax more. They stress the system, and then they relax more. And in that relaxation, you're relaxing more than you would if you didn't exercise. In the same way, when you squeeze all your muscles and then relax, you're going to relax more than if you didn't. And so now we can start to see, wow, there's a skill in doing the yin and yang kinds of exercises. And there's a skill in doing our Qigong practice where we warm up and stretch and activate first, and then we go into deeper relaxation in our flows later. That's why we do it the way we do it. And so, yes, in yoga and in Qigong flows, you want that slow respiration, that slow, relaxed state of mind, but they work in tandem. So if you're going to combine, let's say, fitness and Qigong, you would want to exercise first and do your Qigong after. If you wanted to mash up, here's what you do. You do your Qigong warm-ups, knock on the door of life, spinal cord breathing, swimming dragon, warm your body up, go exercise then. Then come back, do some stretches and some flows with a little meditation. And that is like a perfect east-west workout routine.
That's great. I think probably it's about time to check in with our Facebook contingent and see if Zach has any questions he's been collecting up for us from over there in the land of Facebook. Assuming that, where are you, Zach?
I am right here. If you want me to name my video, we'll just need some permission sets.
Permissions? I don't know.
It's my favorite.
Not giving me anywhere to give you permission, so that's awkward. Show non-video.
Hey, Zach, will you type in the chat where people can find the healing sounds? Eduardo's asking where can you find healing sounds?
Yep, definitely. I'll add that in just a moment for Eduardo.
Okay.
But first of all, on Facebook, we've got a few questions coming in. The first one's going to be from Patrick. I practice yoga and I'm wondering how Tai Chi or Qigong could complement it.
Okay, so practice yoga. So yoga is going to, in our principles of Qigong practice, we have breathing, we have activation, we have warm-ups, we have stretch. Those are kind of the four principles we start with. So yoga is a stretch. And it's also a really good warm-up depending on what kind of yoga you're doing. So I would start with yoga, do your warm-ups and your stretches and your sun salutations and stretch. And then at the end of a yoga practice, they usually go into Shavasana where you lie on your back and you just relax. What I like to do and have people do is you do your yoga and then instead of doing Shavasana, you add your Qigong flows. And you do a nice set of Qigong flows. And if you wanted to do Shavasana at the end, fine. Or you just end with your Qigong flows. And that is just a really nice complement to a yoga practice because then you get that flow state. And I don't see many practices getting and focusing directly on flowing movements, those water flows. Yes, there's yoga flows, but that means one posture goes to another posture to another. It's not necessarily make your body like water like we do in Qigong. And if you think about what is the most flexible element, it's water. So yoga is a little bit more along the wood element side, working on posture and alignment and flexibility. But then from wood, go to water and go into your flows, and that's a really great complement.
Perfect. And then we have a question from Aaron from Belgium. My mother-in-law is 90 and has severe osteoporosis. Which of the Qigong moves would you recommend that would be safe and beneficial for her to do?
Okay, so Qigong is great for strengthening the bones. Standing postures and flows, in particular, are really good for bones in general. Kidneys rule the bone. So if you do more kidney movements, that's going to be helpful. Kidneys and the water element. And then I would just recommend, we have Qigong for healthy bones. I have a whole program that we filmed in Yosemite. It's beautiful, and it's based on the Qigong classic of bone marrow washing. And the studies from some of the universities in China show how this routine strengthens bone density.
Yeah, that's great. And then a question from John coming in. What is the best breathing technique to help with more energy in the morning?
What is the best breathing technique?
Yes.
Okay. There's a couple. Breath work in general is great for energy, but for the morning, I would say fan the fire. Fanning the fire is a little bit more stimulating. Do this before breakfast. Don't do it after a big meal. So your abdomen is gonna go back towards the spine. And you get the movement of the abdomen, the stimulation of the energy. And you do that for 30 seconds, then do slow, deep breathing. Then back to fast breathing. Do that 3 times and you'll be charged up.
Nice. I'll have to try that tomorrow morning when I wake up. And we have a good question coming in from Jim. Since you've experienced so many traditions over the course of filming the Superhuman documentary, have you incorporated any of those into your personal practice?
Absolutely. I do a lot of those practices daily. And one of those practices and a strong foundation of reaching into our human potential is energy cultivation, whether it's Kundalini, Qi Gong, Tai Chi, yoga, pranayama. What are we doing? We're cultivating energy. And so I find that Qi Gong practices are some of the most accessible ways to tap into your energy system. The other one is some breath work techniques and some breathing practices that are a little, I would say, a little bit more advanced. And I do a combination of advanced breath work with Qigong. And that is now my kind of staple go-to practice.
Perfect. And we have a question from Chris. What Qigong routines can help me with getting a good night's sleep?
Good night's sleep. We want to cultivate yin energy. So the routine of mindfulness or meditation through motion is a really good one to do in the evening. Healing sounds again in the evenings is great. It's not as flowy. It's more meditative and more clearing stress. Anything that really helps us to drop into flows, slow flows with deep breathing is going to really help to unwind and get us into that state for good rest. They say in Chinese medicine that the heart is the ruler of our sleep. So anything that helps us clear stress and anxiety. So that program Qigong for anxiety is wonderful. And then if you want to really dive into the topic of sleep, we have Qigong for better sleep, the workshop, where we talk about sleep and yin energy and how to unwind and give a lot of different tools and resources and a whole sleep routine in that workshop. And that's on the website too in our previous workshop section.
Perfect. And then we have a question from Debbie. How can I use Qigong to help me with my sciatica?
Oh, sciatica, the pain in the butt, literally. So sciatica is the big nerve that comes from the low back and goes down through the glutes and the piriformis and often down the back or the side of the leg. It's often an impingement somewhere in the lower back. So gentle working of the lower back and stretching the piriformis, the glutes, and stretching the hamstrings really helps to take pressure off the sciatic. The other thing you're going to want to do is some core strength and some back muscle strength. Where you can find a lot of those exercises that I'm talking about, Qigong for the low back, that workshop. Previous workshop section, look for Qigong for the low back. Wonderful exercises for core strength, leg flexibility, sciatic nerve release, and tonifying the kidneys.
Perfect. And we have another Debbie asking a question on where she can get more information on the liver meridian.
More information on the liver meridian. So this is part of the 5-element practice. So the simple one would be 5-element energy flow. We have that program online. That one was really fun because we filmed it on the valley floor of Yosemite. So it's really gorgeous. And we go through a movement for each of those 5 elements, including the liver. If you want a deeper dive into 5 elements, then we have that week-long immersion. That's a really deep dive. It's like taking an intensive workshop 5-element immersion that we have on the website. If you want to, dive into it. I mean, I think now's a good time. We're all home. COVID's happening. This whole workshop is about how to transform stress into vitality. And you can do it self-paced, but that is a great way to learn about the elements of personality, all the healing sounds, the flows, three of the 5-element healing flows. We go into all that. So I love that program if you have the time for it and really want to invest in yourself. Otherwise, the short program, 5-element energy flow, you can really learn about the liver. And I often will do 5-element liver work in the subscription and the weekly classes. I love working with the liver because it's about stress and people are stressed out. And so I'm at least once a week, I'm doing liver type of exercises.
Perfect. And a question from Kareen. In my last 2 sessions, something changed. Now when I do Buddha Palm, I keep seeing animals come to me. Does this have a meaning?
That's wonderful. When we do Qigong, we tap into the mystical. It's just, life can be mystical and full of wonder and awe, and we live more with that childlike spirit. So I'm not sure if the animals are coming to you in your imagination, which we can start to tune into, archetypes and animal energy and the energy of nature. So that makes sense when you're doing deep energy work. But for me, when I'm doing Qigong out in nature, I've had so many profound and mystical experiences where animals will just show up, whether it's a bird. I was doing Qigong on my back patio, and this blue jay was just hopping towards me, just looking at me like, what the heck is that guy doing? Then I walked in the house. The bird followed me into the house, came into the treatment room, and sat on my heat lamp where I would do acupuncture. I was like, whoa. And I've had deer follow me. I was doing Qigong. One of my favorite was doing Qigong on my paddleboard in the middle of the ocean. It was sunset, so there wasn't a lot of people. And a school of dolphins came and they were in a circle around me and they were slapping their tails on the water to stir up the fish. But I was like in this sacred ring of dolphins. And I was like, this is incredible. So when you go outside and do your Qigong practice, be on the lookout for some interesting animal experiences. It doesn't happen all the time. As I'm thinking over my, 30 years of practicing Qigong, I've had, at least a dozen very interesting encounters like the dolphin story I just told. So yes, I think what animals do is really feel and tune into that calmness and peaceful, that beautiful energy. People talk about their cats and their dogs loving to be around them while they're doing Qigong practice. So just stay open to that mystical energy.
Yeah, that's amazing. And our last question coming in from Facebook from Sandy. What's the difference between the 5 Elements program and the 3 Treasures program?
Okay, so 5 Elements really focuses on the 5 elements. 5 Elements has a particular set of meridians. 5 Elements more goes to healing emotional stress and physical ailments. The 3 Treasures really goes into the discovery of who we are. We have energy of consciousness, emotions, and body, and how do those integrate? So I would say 3 Treasures is a little bit more spiritual, mystical, and integrative. 5 Elements is a little bit more medical, emotional, and really using Qigong practice as a way to transform stress back into vital life force energy.
Perfect. Well, it sounds like we got a clean sweep from Facebook there. Thank you, Zach. Really appreciate your help.
My pleasure. Happy to do it.
Excellent. All right. Well, we have a little time left. We'll take a couple of folks who want to come up and raise their hands. I see that people have had their hands raised for a while. I'm actually going to lower them all, although I've got my eye on you guys. So please now go ahead and raise your hand if you want to come up. The reason I do that is because in the past we've had folks get called away, have to wander off, and they just weren't there when we called on them. So if you want to come up now You're welcome to go down to participants. That'll bring up a list of folks, and you can click the raise hand button at the bottom of the list and raise your hand if you want to ask your question of Lee directly. Okay.
Hey, Ben, somebody just asked about the full moon Qigong practice. And last night I went for a walk on the beach, and the moon rose up over the mountain, just like shimmering off the water. And so tomorrow in our subscription, in the live Zoom, I'm going to do eating the moon cream Qigong practice, as well as the moon over the lake. So somebody was just asking. So I'm reminding myself that I'll do that.
I always do love those. The moon, especially people really love that one, including me.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it's the right time of month for it. So let's see here. Okay, first up we have Ellen. So Ellen, she'll be in just a sec as a panelist, and we'll get her up and running.
Okay.
Hey, Ellen.
Hi. I have the screen in the way. Okay. Lee, I have been trying to, first of all, thank you both, all the team, everybody for being there. I have to say in this really sad, tragic time that the blessing of it was discovering you, and it's just been an incredible blessing. So thank you, a life-changing one.
Thank you.
I've been trying to breathe through my nose more, not through my mouth, and particularly when I'm out walking the dog. So I'm doing some, it's not very fast, but, and I know that there's filtration happening by breathing through the nose, but I'm wondering why else? What else is going on physiologically, mentally, emotionally? Why is breathing through the nose an important thing to do?
That is such a great question. So, and there's so many answers to that, and more science is coming out. No, so in Qigong, they've said, nose is for breathing, mouth is for eating, in general. That makes sense. You're filtering the air as it comes in through the nose. When you use it, it works. And if you don't use it, you kind of lose it. So when you don't breathe in and out through the nose, we're going to develop respiratory problems, snoring, sleep apnea, and low immune function. That's some of the things that the studies have shown. And if you really want to go into the science of it, there's a great book that just came out. It's called Breathe. And the author is Jeff Nestor. And basically this crazy guy, I love what he did. He plugged up his nose with silicone for 10 days just to see what happens. And he got it all tested. You know, they put on sleep monitors. They did all kinds of things. They just put silicone plugs in his nose. And he developed sleep apnea, high blood pressure, low immune function. Like, it was like worse than eating McDonald's every meal for 10 days. Just all kinds. And he unplugged it and he taped his mouth shut and only breathed through his nose for 10 days. And everything went back to normal, healthy function. So that was a really interesting study. So you want to read a little bit more about the science and this guy doing a crazy breathing experiment. That's a great recommendation. And so those things that I just said really help. When you breathe in and out through the nose, it boosts the immune system. It slows down how you take in carbon dioxide. So we overconsume. If you think about what we overconsume food. So breathing too much oxygen too quickly is like eating too much every meal. So the nose slows down the respiration so that the oxygen and the carbon dioxide become optimized. If there's a little more carbon dioxide in your system, what happens is that the oxygen that's in the hemoglobin of your blood gets released to your bloodstream. And that's why it's so great. You'll have actually more oxygen if you breathe slower and take in less oxygen. It's kind of this weird thing. You take in less oxygen, your body then releases it because it stores it up in the red blood cells. It releases it, now it becomes available to your tissue. And so that's some of what happens when you breathe slowly in and out through the nose. And it made sense to me that we tend to overconsume, and we do that with the breath as well. Plus, mouth breathing induces sympathetic states. So when you're in fight or flight, ready to fight and flee. So if you're always breathing through the mouth, you're staying in sympathetic. If you breathe slow, deep through the nose, you're going to go into parasympathetic, rest and relax. So there's a couple of things right there for that. If you wanted to integrate breath work with Qigong practice, Qigong for better breathing, we do the movement with the breath work. And I really love that as just an overall health and healing program. We filmed it right here in the Redwoods in Santa Cruz. So I love it. It's very powerful practice.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, great. Next up, we have Fatima. Fatima, we're calling on you. Got your hand raised, and here she comes. Hello. And it should be prompting you to unmute. And there you go.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you for the program. I'm a student in the Tier 1. It's very rich. It's really wonderful. Like, even we know a bit of Qigong before, it's just like filling all the spaces that we don't know. I have a question because I start like teaching a group since the pandemic, and now I am introducing what I'm learning with the 5 elements. Some people ask, like, from my simple knowledge, that like Tai Chi is good for diabetes. So when it comes to Qigong, and now we are doing like a new movement for me, I want to show people how long I can recommend it's also good for diabetes, you know, like Qigong with diabetes. I would like just a bit to know more from Lee, if possible.
Yeah, that's great. So usually if the study is on Tai Chi, it's going to be relevant to Qigong because Tai Chi is a form of Qigong. Tai Chi is Qigong. It's just a martial set, but it's done in a very medical Qigong kind of way. You're doing the same thing. Slow movements, deep breathing, relaxation, enter the flow. So everything that pertains to Tai Chi will also pertain to Qigong. They're different. Tai Chi is going to have a little bit more sequential and form, meaning that one movement leads into another. So there's some interesting benefits to that. And Qigong is going to be a little more meditative, repetitive, and there's some interesting benefits to that as well. So, but for something like diabetes or immune function or things along those lines, they're going to cross-pollinate. I mean, they're going to be good. Both are going to be good for both. If you want to do some more research, there's some great research in Ken Cohen's book, The Way of Qigong. The Way of Qigong. Yes. There's some great research in that. I think we've been sending out some good research when we find it in our blogs. So you might want to look in the Holden Qigong and the blog posting, the older blogs, you might find some good research articles. But the book was called The Way of Qigong.
Okay. So there is no special exercises or movements we can recommend while we are doing? It's like the whole form together, yeah? Like the 5 elements.
So are you asking what is a good recommendation for diabetes?
Yeah.
Okay, so diabetes is going to be a couple of things. In Chinese medicine, often there's yin deficiency. And I would say you want to really work on the digestion. So Qigong for healthy digestion. And we have a workshop. I did a 3-hour workshop on Qigong for healthy digestion. So I'm going to have all those tips for that. And in terms of diabetes, Qigong helps to activate the healing power in your body. So in general, it's going to be good for diabetes, just overall, because it's going to calm your nervous system, clear stress, get the energy to your digestive system. And if you wanted a little more specific focus on the pancreas, the spleen, the stomach, the digestive system, try checking out that 3-hour workshop in the previous workshop section on the page.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. We've got Ramona. Ramona, you're next. Let's see if you can get in here. Here we go. Ramona's on her way. Hey, Ramona. Looks like you're here. And
Hi. Excuse me. Well, hi, Ben, and hi, Lee. First, I want to thank you because, yeah, you have been very crucial to just keeping calm and navigating this strange year. So I'm thrilled to have found you. After doing a lot of video, I really love the live work. I just finished the Buddha Palm and had a wonderful experience with it. And something you said this week reminded me of kind of why I got into all this in the first place. We were talking about clearing, Lee. I think I had a very strange experience maybe 10 years ago where I was comforting a friend who was feeling a lot of grief, and I put my hands on her, and I felt energy leap into my body. And I felt like I lit up like a battery. And she looked at me and she said, "What did you do?" And I said, "I don't know." So I was scared because suddenly I was like full of this kind of roiling, almost negative energy. And I just kind of instinctively like shook it out of my hands, which is exactly what you were talking about on Sunday. And I've had a couple of other experiences too. And she said it was gone in her. She felt it leap into me. And I thought, oh no, is it stuck in me? And I somehow got it out.
Yeah.
So that led me to, explore Reiki. And then I was so thrilled with the Buddha Palm. I'm kind of wondering where else to go with this to understand, I seem to have this energy connection that happens sometimes, and I don't always know what to do with it.
How wonderful. Yeah, natural healing ability that that you have. And it can be scary when all of a sudden you're working on somebody and that you pick up their energy and it's like, oh my God, I don't want to have this in my body. I worked with somebody and they had this kind of gift as well. They were an acupuncturist. And he was saying, gosh, every time I go home at night, I feel like I have all the symptoms of my patient. So he was saying I had, last night I got a headache, I had sciatic pain, and I even had PMS. And I'm a guy. And I was like, yeah, you definitely want to shake that out. I'm kind of half joking because he felt all that. But now when you work on somebody else, you don't have to be afraid of it, because even when it comes into you, it's not really your energy. It doesn't resonate with you as much as it will with that person. It's not your, let's call it karma. It's not you haven't gone through that life experience where that energy is built up within you. So it's going to be much easier to discharge. So you're going to want to do some discharging practice. So you're going to want to do healing sounds. You're going to want to shake. You're going to want to wash your hands with cold water right afterwards. And that usually takes care of it. I have in the Buddha Palm, I did a bonus video in there on how to not take on other people's energy as healers and as just people living in life, how to discharge other people's energy. So that'll be in the bonus section of the Buddha Palm. So take a look at that, practice that. And then because you have a natural way in which you want to work with healing energy for somebody else, more along the medical Qigong side. So when we can all get together again, I'm going to do a live Buddha Palm medical Qigong week-long workshop. Might recommend that. And then anything medical Qigong oriented, energy healing, even Reiki, all those things, those would all be nice to learn how to practice. Acupressure, massage therapy, you're going to have a real skill at all of those. So maybe a combination of learning the pressure points, learning some acupressure, because when you put your hands on and you're doing Qigong and you have that high vibration, it's going to be more effective.
When you're doing Buddha Palm, you're channeling through, right? You're not giving your energy, or you're really connecting and channeling through, which is similar to Reiki, but it actually feels different to me.
Yeah, because
Buddha Palm energy is more magnetic somehow. Sorry.
Oh, wonderful. We're consciously connecting to the earth, the universe, and nature, so that you just become a conduit to send energy. And you'll get better and better at that, so that when you're working on somebody, you won't get that energy in your system as frequently. And then if it does, it just sloughs off very easily. And so that just comes with practice and over time. But yes, you're exactly right. You connect to a higher source of energy and channel it to them. And the very advanced is it doesn't even go through you. You just gather the energy of the field and just direct it straight at them without having it come through you. And so those are the kind of things we'll work on in our week-long practices. So
Maybe I'll see you there.
I'm excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ramona. Looking forward to seeing you in Santa Cruz. Okay. Well, Lee, that's all the time we have. We're about at the end here. So I was hoping that you could give us a little bit of a closing moment to send us on our way back into our normal day.
Closing rituals. Often sounds good. Yes, I hear some natives, young natives in the background here getting restless. They're doing all kinds of crazy things. So I will go tend to them and give them some tea and some lunch. But for now, thanks all for such great questions and inquiries. It was special to be in my new house, second day with all of you. And we were talking about making moments and ritualizing. So I think we could just end our conversation with a little meditation coming back to the moment. So why don't we just close our eyes, take a few slow breaths, feeling the conversation and the inquiry and the collaboration and the community that we've created supporting you in your quest to be your best self moving through the world. Just feel the community and the energy, how we can all support each other, because in times like this, sometimes we feel a lack of community and we're not connected. And when we get together in these circumstances, we can really feel that energetic community and our ability to connect in a space that is holding each other to our highest vibration, in that space where we can move through adversity with kindness, spaciousness, compassion, and love. So let's hold that as our intention as we wrap up our session today, breathing it in and sending it out. Wonderful. And for me, I appreciate you all so much. Thanks for the team for putting these together. Thank you, Ben, for co-hosting these great tea sessions and getting to be in community at a distance, but with deep reverence and connection.
Well said. Thank you, Lee. And thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time. Bye.